travelers and commuters to pay more in train fares as Kenya Railways announces an increase of 50% with those traveling by STR on first class from Nairobi to Mombasa to pay 4,500 shillings, up from 3,000 shillings.
President William Ruto joins Kenyans and music lovers in mourning the untimely death of legendary coast musician Ali B, known for hits such as Maria and BAMBA.
All new survey ranks Busia's Commentator as the best performing senator with a 59% rating, followed by his Kirinyaga counterpart Kamau Murango and Aaron Cheruiyot of Kericho.
Good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Indimuli. It's exactly 53 days to Christmas. And that's how we start this show today.
Well, and yes, we'll be having a very interesting conversation on the other side of this discussion at around 8 a.m. about husband material. What's the ideal man that you want, and what are you looking out for in a husband? Of course, we'll be talking. Yes, Fred.
What exactly would you be looking for?
And don't, and we're not forgetting that some days ago, is it a day ago, you surprised here by potential husband material.
So. It will be a very interesting conversation.
Most
yes,
definitely.
And yes, you don't have to miss that conversation, and of course, be part of this discussion at TV47 News on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook. The hashtag is Morning Cafe. I'm
yes.
Flora Limuki, and a happy birthday to our producer, Lydia.
Oh, yes. Happy birthday, Lydia.
Happy birthday, Lydia. And I'm used to Stanley Nyaringita, and she's speaking about matters husband material, and it reminds me, there's always a song that in most weddings we'll sing, Maria, and well, Ali B has passed away. So we can probably do some seconds of moment of silence for Ali B. And well, even as we continue to remember Ali B, most definitely talk to us on our social media handles as we have this particular conversation on the whole husband material and all that. But also, King Charles enters, will be in Mombasa this particular day, and also tomorrow, so we'll be giving you those particular updates. But first to the big story this morning.
Kenya Railways has announced an increase in train fare prices following the... From January 1st next year, the standard gauge railway, SGR, will pay an additional 500 shillings to 1,500 to travel for, between Nairobi and Mombasa. Those using first class will be hit the hardest, since they'll be parting with 4,500 shillings one way, up from 3,000 currently. The upward review of prices will affect the Madaraka Express services, Nairobi commuter rail service, as well as the Kisumu and Nanyuki safari trains. Only last month, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority revised fuel prices upwards. Currently, a litre of super petrol is retailing at 217 shillings 36 cents, diesel at 205 shillings 47 cents, and kerosene at 205 shillings 6 cents a night. take a look at the diary for today.
Right, and on today's diary, I'm also reminded, even as we're taking a moment of silence for Ali B, should also take a moment of silence for Arsenal fans. We can't forget that mlichapwa jana. Anyway, to our day's diary.
No, that one cannot go without any response, because I do understand that Man United also lost.
And to today's diary, the royal visit, as alluded earlier, King Charles and Queen Camilla are expected to take the third day of the country's visit to the coastal region. So the Majesties will make a stop at a nature reserve and also have a meeting with religious leaders on the agenda. That's the top of our diary this morning. As we flip the page with you, today is International Fertility Day. So the observance of this day raises awareness of the difficulties many people face in having biological children, and the medical advances that help many others accomplish the desire to be parents. And from that, this particular morning, former Nigerian President Jonathan Goodluck is in the country, and he's the chief guest in the inaugural African Conference on Agricultural Technologies, which continues today here in Nairobi. So the conference, which is themed Agricultural Resilience Through Innovation, will see Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi among the keynote speakers. And in matters Parliament, this morning, the vetting of ambassadorial nominees will conclude today. So the vetting is being conducted by the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations, which is vetting the 27 persons nominated by the President to serve as ambassadors, high commissioners and permanent representatives of the Republic. And also a day, quite an important day for members of the Fifth Estate. Today is the International Day to End Impunity for Crimes Against Journalists. So this day, set aside by the United Nations, seeks to raise awareness of the main challenges faced by journalists and communicators in the exercise of their profession, and to warn of the escalation of violence and repression against them. So quite an important day to even us as journalists. Away from matters diary, today in history, back in 1920, Warren G. Harding is elected president of the United States, defeating Democrat candidate James M. Cox. That is back in 1920. In 1963, Ngo Dinh Diem, who's the president, or rather was the president of South Vietnam, was overthrown and assassinated in a coup by the South Vietnamese army. That is today in history. And also our diary. This diary will be updated as we move on, just to take a look at what you expect to see even in our subsequent bulletins. Right now, though, let's dig into the dailies.
Oh, yes. Let's take a look at the dailies. And now that you are saying something about football, it's good to mention that, yes, Arsenal lost yesterday to West Ham. They were away to West Ham. But on the other end, Manchester United was hosting Newcastle at that field they call the Theatre of Dreams, and they still lost 3-0.
I think they have been consistent with their...
They've been very consistent.
With their losing. It's always 3-0, 5-0, yes. 2-0, yeah.
And
you're doing well.
It's a trend that's definitely...
It's the consistency for me.
Let's get down to the dailies, and we start off with the Standard. The big headline of the Standard, Form 1 slots nightmare. That's a big headline. With a record number of candidates having sat this year's KCPE and the reality of crowded facilities in schools, parents are staring at a tough time placing their children in Form 1, even as the impact of Treasury's delay in disbursing 22 billion shillings capitation hits home. The story is covered on pages 2 and 3. And look at the numbers there, 22 billion shillings, that's a funding deficit plaguing secondary schools following the delayed release of capitation by Treasury. 1.4 million is the number of candidates who sat the last 844 KCPE exams and are set to join Form 1 in January. And the CS for Education promised that this group of candidates will get their KCPE results before Christmas Day. 380,000, that's the number of students not receiving capitation as they are not registered in NEMIS. And that's the big story on the front page of the Standard. The other story given prominence on the front page is a visit by King Charles III to Kenya. King honors Kenyan World War veterans. King Charles III talks to World War II veteran Charles Mburia there at Kariakor War Cemetery. Elsewhere, the King with Eliud Kipchoge and other athletes during a run for the environment at Karura Forest yesterday. Today, I think the King and the Queen will be in Mombasa for other activities as the visit comes to close to its end. Other stories on the front page of the Standard this day. War Memorial Hospital ownership battle deepens. This is a story from Nakuru. The story is on page 12. And on to the top street now. Cost of living. Talks team summons the Treasury and ministers. That's a big talking point. The story is on page 8 of the Standard. And on the international scene, Israel kills dozens in Gaza. That's on the international pages. On the inside, pull-out real estate. Architects form new lobby. And in sports, Saudi and the making of 2034 World Cup host. That story is on page 40. If we could flip the paper, why Saudi 2034 World Cup should not surprise anyone. Cristiano Ronaldo is the most high-profile player to have joined the Saudi Pro League, and the country is all but guaranteed to be staging the tournament in 11 years' time. And they're talking about 48 teams, 48 the teams that will take part in the FIFA World Cup. Between now and 2034, we'll have 2 World Cups. In 2026, Canada, USA, and Mexico will jointly host. And in 2030, it comes to Africa in Morocco, which will be jointly hosting the tournament alongside Portugal and Spain. And those are the stories given prominence on the Standard this Thursday.
Let's have a look at the Daily Nation. Quite a busy front page there. And the top headline this morning, top senators and women reps. And Busia's Mtata leads in the senators, Turkana's Ngitit ahead of our fellow county MPs. And newly elected senators are performing better than their more experienced counterparts 1 year after coming into office. This is according to a new InfoTrack poll that has also found that a majority of women representatives have their work cut out to win over voters, and that is what is on page 8 of the Daily Nation this morning. Just to look at some of the top senators, Okiya Mtata leads, and of course the likes of Kamau Murango of Kirinyaga, Aaron Cheriot of Kericho, Dan Mans of Makueni, Nyandarua's John Medhu, Muranga's Joel Nyutu, and Samburu's Tumbesi Lelegwe, and Enoch Wambu of Kitui, Nairobi's Edwin Sifuna, and West Pokot's Julius Murgot. In terms of women reps, the leading woman rep is Ngitit Cecilia of Turkana. There's also Kirinyaga's Maina Jane Njeri. There's Osogo Bansud of Homa Bay, Tarakanethis Nduyo Susan, West Pokot, Kasiwali Ryle. There's also Nyandarua Gitau Faith. There's Kakamega's Muhanda Elsin, and the likes of Mumo Rose Museo of Makueni, among others. Yes, that is the top big story on the Daily Nation this morning. And of course, you can read more details on that on page 8 of the Daily Nation. And still another story given prominence on the Daily Nation's front page. King Charles III off to Mombasa after city tours. And King Charles yesterday concluded his tour of Nairobi and with stopovers at the Commonwealth War Graves in Kariokor and the United Nations in Gigiri, among others. And the King now heads to Mombasa today and tomorrow before he concludes this visit. Let's have a look at what we have on the left strip of the Daily Nation. Nairobi-Mombasa SGR fares up by 50%. And the Kenya Railways has announced a 50% fare increase of Nairobi to Mombasa SGR passengers starting January 1st. And KRA now eyes e-citizen data to catch tax cheats. And the taxman is seeking to use third-party data from e-citizen platform to catch individuals and firms evading tax as part of its strategies to hit its tough revenue targets. That story is on page 26 of the Daily Nation. Looking at some matters, tech anxiety worldwide as computers get smarter. And from Hollywood's dealing Terminator 2 warnings from Stephen Hawking or Silicon Valley stars, there are fears that artificial intelligence could destroy humanity. And that piece there is on page 25 of the Daily Nation. Abdul Somad gets nod to charge fees at port. And the national government has given Mombasa County the green light to start levying waste management fees on vessels docking at the Mombasa port. That story there is on page 12 of the Daily Nation. It's now KCSE students' turn, and the Kenya KCPE examinations finally came to an end yesterday after 39 years, as the country marks a significant shift in the country's approach to primary education assessment with the introduction of KPSEA. The conclusion of those examinations paves way for commencement of the KCSE exams. The written exams for common papers will begin on Monday next week. The examinations will run up to November 24th. That story is on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Let's look at what we have on the back page of the Daily Nation, and it's that story on increase in bus fares. SGR fares to rise by 50% from January. The numbers there, the number of passengers trains Kenya Railways operate per day is 12, and the number of passengers the SGR had ferried between June 2017, when the rail officially began its operations, and June 11th is 11 million people. And yes, just to look at how fares will increase in terms of first class, from Nairobi to Mariakani will be 4,300 shillings, and at the river there from Mombasa, Emali to Mombasa, 3,350 shillings, and Voi to Mombasa, 1,320. Yes, those are just some of the how it is going to be affected, and the first class will be 4,500 shillings now. Yes, Nairobi to Mombasa will pay 1,500 in economy class and 4,500 first class, up from 1,000 shillings and 3,000 shillings respectively. Yes, and that is what we have on the Daily Nation this morning.
Right, katika gazeti la Taifa leo wanauliza hapa ni wapi? Nataka kujua Mwalimu wa Maths hapa ni wapi? Lakini hii ndio taarifa kuu pale, akiuliza maswali tele, Raila akionekana Ikulu katika hafla ambayo Gachagua alikosekana. Wadokeza kuwa maswala ya handisheki haya asalimiana na Mfalme Charles watatu kuchangamfu, huku Rais Ruto akiwatazama. Hapo awali naibu rais alikuwa amesema ameweka mitego kona zote alama ya ili Raila asipenye Ikuluni. Katika ukurasa wa pili, taarifa nyingine upande wa kulia pale, utata na Zamzam wang'ara, utafiti wampa seneta wa Busia alama bora, mwakilishi wa Mombasa pia akitia fura. Pale chini, matayarisho ya KCSE, mtahiniwa wa kidato cha 4 ana fursa bomba ya kujiandaa kwa masomo ya Kiswahili, lugha na fasihi. Matayarisho hayo kurasa nyingi pale. Pale chini, simanzi alibia kiaga dunia, mwanamuziki maarufu anayejulikana kwa vibao kama Maria afa akitibiwa katika hospitali. Tuelekee pale juu, Kenya yapiga hatua katika hoki. Masuala ya michezo, kikosi cha taifa chamaliza kileleni kwa mwakundi sasa kuwania kufuzu Olimpiki. Baada ya kufurahisha hiyo, kwingineko SGR pia yaongezea abiria nauli, wasafiri kulipa 50% zaidi, huku pia watoto wakianza kulipa mwaka 2024. Lakini taarifa kuni hapa ni wapi?
Hapa ni wapi?
And I'm wondering who's Mwalimu wa Maths in this context. Yeah?
Let's take a look at the Business Daily, and the Business Daily's big headline: Inside Kenya, Uganda Gulf fuel deal fallout. Kampala picks UAE supplier in protest. Kenyan oil marketers to take a big hit. And he said that Uganda is upset that it was kept in the dark about the negotiations around the government-to-government fuel deal between Kenya and two Gulf nations. And this has been revealed through minutes of a meeting. The other big story: debt servicing costs up by 216 billion shillings on weak shilling. The Treasury has revised the cost of servicing Kenya's external debt for this fiscal year by an additional 216.7 billion on account of continued weakening of the shilling and rising interest rates on commercial loans. Those are the big stories. The other quick highlights from the front page of the Business Daily: middle class electricity bills up 30% in a year. Elsewhere, APA parent sells 20% stake to South African insurance, and CMA to suspend day trading fees to lift uptake. On the inside page is an interesting story now that you're preparing for Christmas. Goat meat lovers steadily losing delicacy to export. The story is on page 19 of the Business Daily.
Well, and let's have a look at the Star this morning. The headline there is school fees paid as a state reduces funding. And tuition government will dish out only 15.476 shillings per secondary school learner. And yes, also pictures there of the King's visit. Raila's State House dinner sparks up big political talk. Away from that, on the top strip of the Star this morning, why Ruto's troops may bring down Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza. And that is the story on page 4 to 5 of the Star this morning. Other stories making it to the front page of the Star. The very bottom strip: Kogalo strike to sink Shabana as Ulinzi Stars defeat Tusker. Yes, one more story there: official collapses and dies after delivering exams in Tharaka Nithi. That is what we have on the front page of the Star this morning.
Right, the front page of People Daily, as much as like other papers, focusing on matters the second day of the tour by the King and also matters education. There's a very interesting story here on the top strip of the People Daily. Top Catholic body rejects gay unions, female priests. More on that is on page 12. And actually, just to, because it's deviating from other dailies, the first paragraph in page 12, when you're going to read this, talking about the just concluded Catholic Synod on synodality in Rome, has slammed doors on the agitation for same-sex marriages and ordination of women as priests, in a move that is being perceived as a major win for the African Church. That is on page 12 of the People Daily. And we'd also talk about this church's synod and synodality says...
The synod.
Synod, okay. Synod and synodality says agenda not up for discussion, as it will be a win for perverts. There you have it on your screens. Right. And as I alluded earlier, the front page of People Daily focusing on the visit by the King and also matters education. Big photo there talking about King faces brutal reality of the dark past. And they're talking about this is a whole moment of truth for him. Royal visits open lead on painful neglect of World War veterans. Compensation of freedom fighters, land retribution, colonial atrocities, and the role of the monarch in slave trade that remains an indelible stain in the Kenya-Britain relations, as Charles declares that no one can change the past. And People Daily have hectares of this story, from page 4 all the way to page 8, and the pictorials inside that, as you can see on the screen. Talk about a whole busy day for King Charles and the Queen in the city. In matters education, we need 22 billion shillings for free school, says Machogu. That is on the top strip of People Daily.
Wow.
on that.
And time has really moved, huh?
Oh, yes.
But we need to take a quick look at what's headlining across the borders. So let's just look at the front page of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Government rolls out digital number plates. That's a big headline in Kampala this morning. New vehicles and motorcycle owners will pay 714,000 shillings. Okay, sorry, this is Ugandan money. While exchanging existing plates will cost 150,000 for motor vehicles and 50,000 for motorcycles. That's a big headline in Kampala this morning. The other story, best government hospitals named. And army kills ADF rebels who murdered tourists. Those are the stories on the front page of the Daily Monitor. Big stories in Uganda today.
Yes, and on the Citizen in Tanzania this morning, the headline there where government will get cash for universal health insurance. And away from that, German president now says to Tanzanians, forgive us for colonial atrocities in Tanzania. Interesting. The TZ people are getting an apology. And like us here. And yes, the president, Frank Walter, yesterday expressed his shame at crimes committed during Germany's colonial rule in Tanzania and pledged to raise awareness of the atrocities in his own country. Interesting story there. And still on the Citizen, police TBL in new digital road safety initiative. And yes, that is what we have on the Citizen this morning.
Katika gazeti la Mwananchi, bei 1,000 shilingi za Tanzania hizo, vipodozi pombe kulipia bima afya. Muswada sheria ya bima kwa wote wataja pia fedha za michezo ya kubahatisha, vinywaji vyenye kaboni na ushuru wa mamlaka ya kielektroniki. Hiyo ndiyo taarifa kuu katika gazeti la Mwananchi. Turejee Kenya and the Standard this morning. Yesterday they didn't have a cartoon, but they had a pictorial there, the whole preparations for the king. But today they have a cartoon talking about the aid that is the whole Palestine and Israel war. And there's someone there saying, finally, more aid arrives in Gaza. But it is satirical, the fact that this aid tankers with the flag of Israel jetting into Gaza, and that is the aid that they're getting.
Interesting cartoon there on the Standard. Look at the cartoon on page 15 of the Daily Nation. It comes from that joke by the president during that state banquet held in honor of the king. And he was talking about the number of kingpins and competition among Kenyan politicians for kingpinship. So we have quite a number of gentlemen there, each with his own crown, rushing to State House to meet the real king. Interesting cartoon there.
And yet there are others who have been locked out. So as the viewer, you can...
Other kingpins did not make it to meet the real king.
Oh, yes. You can decipher who did not. On People Daily?
The People Daily this morning, Stado's cartoon here. There's a gentleman here who says how come hustlers with disability were not invited to see the king. And people are just looking at invitation for different categories of people, but not a single representation of people with disabilities.
Okay.
Yes.
Good question there.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, that wraps it up for our look at the dailies this morning. This morning we have a huge panel on the state of the nation. Do stand by for that. Meanwhile, you can keep interacting with us on our social media pages, on X, TV47 News, and on Facebook, TV47 Kenya. You're watching Morning Cafe. Some interesting headlines to look at this morning, from matters education to this rating of senators and women representatives, and also issues to do with fuel prices. Now, I'm privileged to have in studio political commentator Meshak Odede, and we'll be expecting some other gentlemen to be joining the panel as we go along. But Meshak, it's good to have you in studio this Thursday.
Thank you.
Let's start off probably with this headline on the Standard, and this is matters education, and you're talking about what we are foreseeing after the end of the last KCPE yesterday. Now we do expect 1.4 million people, learners, to proceed to secondary schools, but the reality of crowded facilities and parents staring at a tough time placing the children in Form 1. And they're talking about delays in disbursing 22 billion shillings in capitation for learners. Now, matters education are key around this time, mostly because of exams and the expected transition to the next classes. But the handling of education in Kenya has been a thorn in the flesh. Since this new administration took over, matters education have not been handled probably the way people would have expected. University admissions with a change in the funding model. The CBC, now we are done with the last KCPE. We expect to roll out now full implementation of the CBC. Do you feel that probably this administration is not paying enough attention to matters education?
Thank you, Fred, and thanks to our viewers. Fred, you know, the truth is we messed up as a country. Might not just be squarely on this administration, but we must accept that at some point we were consumed largely by the politics of the moment until we didn't know that we have gone too far. For example, you may bear me a witness. When this whole CBC thing started, the intention and what was said and what we discussed as a country was to change the curriculum. But how do you think we ended up changing the system? Because curriculum and system are two things. When did we have a robust conversation as a country to change the system of school, of education in Kenya? We didn't. All we know is that we had a good conversation and people saw reason why we should change the curriculum to make it competency-based. And so we knew at the end of it, we are expecting our learners to come out with a lot of competency around the subjects they are learning in school, not to just cram it and come and recite during the exam on paper, and that to be considered you are bright and the other one is not bright, because the brightness there is just about your ability to cram the answers during this period of learning and put it on paper during the exam. And but your competency around what you are learning, how this applies in daily life, was a problem. And I think that was the conversation we had, and we agreed as a country, let's change our curriculum to be competency-based. But how we ended up metamorphosizing and now changing the system, I don't know. If anybody else knows, but you are here, probably you would have seen that conversation happening. So for me, I think that is where we started messing up. And I think no one dared to say no to some things, maybe for political reasons. So some things we let go because maybe I belong to this party, you belong to that party, and this is a proposal from this party or that party. So we let go even when we know they could mess us up. So for now, this administration has just worsened it. It probably could have started earlier. We were already in a mess. But this administration, remember when the campaigns were going on, they actually even promised we are going to scrap off this thing. Yeah. So what happened after they got elected? They all of a sudden had the sole moment to Paul, and now they are not scrapping it off anymore, and they are making it better according to them, quote unquote. But I could say this is now what is worsening it. Yes. The capitation, we started as a struggle. But now it is not even happening.
Yes,
So
and if you, I refer to the other headline on the Star,
Yeah.
still on this issue of schools.
Yeah.
And it talks about government to dish out only 15,400 per secondary school learner.
Yes.
That's a reduction of almost 7,000 in terms of capitation per learner, meaning that a school with about 2,000 students will have a deficit of about 13 million shillings. How do we expect this to
if you call it deficit, you are being diplomatic. The true name is we are moving these funds back to parents.
Yes.
Because if I am consuming 2,000 shillings per day in my milk, whatever, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and these are things that are standard, like there is no day I will not want to have lunch. There is no day I will not want to have breakfast as a student in school. So it means somebody will still have to foot this bill. Mm-hmm. But if now the government says we are now giving this and not that, that means somebody else will have to pay for this. And do you think we have many options? The other options are teachers and the administration of school.
So
and the other option are parents. So between parents and teachers, who can pay for those bills?
Yes.
So parents just need to be told, the truth is you are going to now pay for education come next year.
It's going to get more expensive.
Yes.
That, if you look at the other conversation about the increase in railway, the cost of commuter services or railway fares, which is also on the back page of the Daily Nation, SGR fares to go up by even 50% to Mombasa. Now, if at all parents are going to dig deeper into their pockets to pay for school fees because the government has reduced its contribution in as far as capitation is concerned.
Yeah.
Transport has gone high. Taxation is up. This issue of the cost of living is not about to get any cheaper for anyone.
Yes.
The CS, when he was in charge of investments and industrialization, Moses Kuria said that the cost of fuel will go up and will constantly keep going up up until February next year. When do you think Kenyans, because it appears as a lull, people have gone quiet. Whatever happens, we're just taking it in. But for how long can we keep taking it in?
Fred, I don't know, but for Kenyans who are listening to us, the truth is, when somebody like CS Kuria warns and say this thing will keep going up until next year, February, one thing that should come back to our mind very quickly, that even after that February, it will not come down. Because the truth is, if we raise fuel today, this is why some of us were making a lot of noise when the so-called famous finance bill were happening about this fuel thing. Sana, it was about the fuel and that tax levy, but the housing tax. But now the fuel thing, the truth is, if today the fuel has been raised because of the 16% VAT, the price of bread moves from 50 to 60. If tomorrow, next month, the ERC announces and reduces the prices of fuel, the bread will not reduce back to 50 where it was. It will remain at 50 and not by a shilling up or down. They will maintain it there, waiting for another month. So that means the cost of living has gone and probably is not coming back. The best, or what we now call in our version, the price of commodities or cost of living coming back is maintaining it. That is all. Because the price of a kg of sugar, you will not go to the shop and realize that, oh, last week the ERC announced that now the fuel has been reduced by 10 bob, now sugar has reduced. It is no longer going to happen.
Yes.
So that means anybody watching should just know we are headed there, but the best we can do is maintain. Okay. Now the painful thing is, in the pockets of Kenyans, are we improving anything? Because it would not be as painful as it looks if I was earning. Because if I have something coming in, maybe my salary is 100,000, it is now 150,000, it is easy to bear whatever it is. But the problem is nothing is in your pocket, and the little that is there, again, taxes are now going to compete with your needs. If the tax will be like, give me 52%, please take 40%, no, give me 48%. So the tax goes with 48%, you remain with 52. And sometimes some people are already making a joke like, take the salary and give me the tax.
Give me the tax.
That is what is painful.
And this matter of the cost of living is already before the National Dialogue Committee, which has retreated. But one of the headlines says that the committee will be meeting Treasury and the minister in charge of Treasury to see what can happen in as far as this issue of cost of living is concerned. But do you have any hope that this kind of forum is the best to address the cost of living? Do you think that anything tangible, in as far as the cost of living is concerned, will come from this forum?
I actually honestly think it is one side of the divide on that table that are insisting about this cost of living. And now the other side have got the things they want this committee to also pass for them, the bipartisan committee. So people are trading on that table. I have a very selfish thing I want from you. So I would want you to put what you want on the table, and we run around like we're doing something about it, so that my time can also come and I can put mine on the table. So we can say, but I mean, you don't be selfish. You had put your agenda on the table, we have done something about it, but I am not hopeful that it is going to.
You don't think that that kind of horse trading that probably as EMIO will try and see if at all they can pull something from the government side, probably in as far as taxation is concerned?
Fred, why are we discussing this at the dialogue table when we know what has made life impossible for Kenyans? If I used to buy tokens in those days, 1,000, I was given 63 units. And today I'm using the same 1,000 Kenya shillings, and I'm given 37 units, or 40 at most. And in that receipt, they have told you how that thing has been distributed. Taxes, taxes, taxes. So why are we going to Treasury with a dialogue committee to do what? We just know where it is. Reduce these taxes here and give me back 63 units. And cost of living is much down.
Okay, and joining the panel is Dennis Kiogora, MCA Abogeta West in Meru. Karibu sana. We specifically invited Bwana Kiogora because we'll be talking about what's going to happen at the Senate with the pending impeachment of the governor, Kawira Mwangaza. But on this cost of living issue, Bwana Kiogora, I don't know how the people of Meru are taking it, because it would appear that the discussion has gone quiet to some extent. People are not really talking about it much. The pain is there, but the discussions, I don't know if people are talking about the cost of living in Meru.
Thank you very much. And of course, my name is Kiogora DMK, the MCA for Abogeta West. And I know the biggest responsibility for all leaders, number one, is to sell hope to the people that things will be better, because you have been put in office to do that. But I also think we owe people the truth, not just selling hope. You sell hope when there is a plan for whatever hope you're giving to materialize. And I think we also owe the people the truth that we are not doing well as a country, and the economy is not doing well, and the people are feeling it down there. You know it by looking at how things are when people are organizing fundraisers for the smallest of things. When you realize parents have started organizing fundraisers for high school kids, these things used to happen for students going to university, the students going to study abroad. Now you realize people are holding fundraisings for high school children. So that's when you realize things are tough for people. Then the issue, of course, of taxation is affecting everybody across the board in the country. So I think we owe the people the truth and to tell them to tighten their belts instead of just, giving them tomorrow will be better. I think tomorrow is not becoming better because taxes are rising, the cost of fuel is rising, and the projection that in the next 6 months, we are likely to end to a litre of petrol retailing at 300 shillings. No, that's the truth.
Yes.
And you know what happens when the price of fuel goes up? So things are not good, even for the people down there at the grassroots. The economy is really tough. The purchase power that the people used to have has gone down, which means that even people who have opened businesses, I'm talking to the people with kiosks down there in the village and the small towns. And the purchase power that people have to come and buy has really gone down. Because you can see that people are saying, like, 1 year ago, in a day, I used to sell stuff for 3,000 shillings in a day. And from that, I could realize 500 shillings in profit in a day. Right now, the sales have gone down to something like 1,000. I was talking to a shopkeeper down at Nkubu, and he was telling me he can go for a day with seeing just one customer now.
The whole day?
The whole day. People are not buying. So he's saying that things are tough even for them.
Things are going to get tougher, because I'm looking at the headline on the Star, and it's good you mentioned that people are now holding fundraisers for sending the children to high school. It's going to get tough because, according to the headline on the Standard, the government has reduced the amount it's going to give to schools as capitation per learner, slashed by almost 7,000 shillings for every student. That means that this cost will go directly to the parents, the same kiosk owners you're talking about. Can you imagine the kind of burden on you as a politician even, now having to attend all these fundraisers at that level?
It's a big problem for everybody, including us in office. Even our pay slips have been slashed. I cannot compare, this is my second term as an MCA, I cannot compare my pay slip for the last term and this term. First of all, the SRC came in and removed some allowances for MCAs. And then the president introduced a raft of taxes. One of them is the housing tax, which takes away from my pay slip, I think, 7,500 shillings. And I don't know where these houses will be built. Actually, I'm waiting for a house myself, because I understand they are building these houses for us. Our pay slips have been invaded right now that they are somehow even unable to manage the government mortgage. You know, the government has given us a mortgage as MCAs and a car loan, but this pay slip cannot even support it because of these taxes that have been introduced, and of course other burdens that you have, like air loans and all those things that you know you have to pay anyway, and the taxes, and they also increased taxes for us, especially the payee. It went somehow up for us. So you can't even talk. Then comes in the demands from your constituents, because when people have all these problems now, they come to your doorstep. I can't take my kids to school. My kids have been sent home. So they want you to attend all these fundraisings. People cannot even pay hospital bills. People are raising money reference. If you open my WhatsApp group, you realize there's so many groups for raising funds for people, for small bills like 150,000, something that people used to pay comfortably using their tea income. Right now. You know, I come from a tea growing zone in Meru. So the bonus was paid last month, but you can't feel it. So the taxes that have been introduced have taken away a lot of money, such that factories have deducted a lot of money. You know, when the fuel goes up and this tea is being transported from tea buying centers with lorries, it's also affecting the farmers' income. Then they are also being taxed because tea farmers have a monthly income. Yes. So the government has also invaded their pay slips. And now you can't feel as if there is a bonus. You know, whenever there was a bonus, there was life in the village. And people
that life is no longer there.
Money is flowing. You know, the dollar has gone up. We expected the money to be a lot.
Because tea is exported.
Tea is an export.
It's not being felt back home.
And of course, the sales at the auction have gone up. So, like, we used to have $2.90. Right now, tea has been selling at $3. And you know, the dollar rate has gone up. So the income is supposed to be more for the tea farmers, but it has not gone up. So we don't know where the money is going, mostly because of
It's a very interesting conversation, and it's a conversation that will definitely continue. Coming up in January, railway prices have been hiked for those traveling using the SGR or commuter railway, even in Nairobi, as well as in Nanyuki and Kisumu safari trains. The fares have gone up. School fees for parents will definitely go up with that reduced capitation by the government. After the break, we'll be looking at this ranking for senators, and we see if at all it actually makes sense. You're watching Morning Cafe. Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe, and I'm just shaking my head at the kind of discussions we're having even during the break on this issue of the cost of living. I'm in studio with Meshak Odede and Dennis Kiogora, MCA Abogeta West. But Meshak, has it ever, in your recollection, has it ever been this bad that we're just looking at problems on top of more problems? The cost of living does not look like it's about to go down anytime soon.
Yeah, you see, I had a stint probably as a child in the Moi leadership, and probably those are the days when in the history of the country people want to say things were bad. But it is not comparable to what we are experiencing now, because in the days of Moi, things could have been bad in terms of governance, things could have been bad in terms of how government probably were responding to the issues. But back in the village, you would see your mother, who is not learned and is not employed, still feeding you, and there is food on the table every other time. You still don't go hungry. The only things that could have been a problem is owning or investing heavily on the things that you can say these are for the future and all that. But the daily things were possible, and people would still do things if it is about travels and all that. But today, it is worse because the whole world, we have a problem with climate change. A lot has happened between then and now. So the farms that I saw as a young kid growing a lot of food for us without fertilizers must now be done with fertilizers, and fertilizer after some of them even backfire again and does not give food. So much as we were mismanaged, quote unquote, as a government, but back in your farm, you didn't need to depend on fertilizer so you could simply go to your farm. That is how our mothers raised us, and things were still happening. But today, now the opposite is happening. The mismanagement is still happening. Your farm is no longer cultivatable without fertilizer. climate change has brought a lot of other things. So it's like you're completely cornered. In those days when we thought it was worse, you could simply say, to hell with government and the things they do. Let me go to my farm, make food for my children, and make sure we are okay as a family. Now you can't do that, and the other side you can't do either. We came to a space where we thought now we are actually much better. And the free primary education, for example, was introduced, and quite a number of people went back to school, and it came to secondary education, and at some point it got better. So what we needed for now was a government to maintain it there or make it better. The problem is Kenyans now don't see hope in how any of this is going to be maintained, let alone getting better. And I think this is the shock that Kenyans have. And so people are beginning, because like now we are speaking here and people are watching. So somebody says, if I was to spend this 1,000 today on a dress or anything, no, it is going to get bad. Let me just keep this money. So the other Mtumba seller who was waiting for you at the shop or in Gikomba will miss that money today and will also come back home in the evening saying, I didn't sell anything. So at the end of the month, the government, whether it is the county government of Nairobi or national government, taxes will be expected from you, and we will miss it completely. So the more we threaten Kenyans, quote unquote, not a threat as such, but the more we want to take this tax thing as the only innovative idea we have as government, the more Kenyans begin to hide everything, anticipating a very bad future, and maybe that is what they call, this is going to be my savior come January, when the government cannot now do the capitation.
And you look at all the dailies today, and these headlines that simply ensure that you lose all hope are everywhere, and even on the Business Daily. The Treasury Cabinet Secretary is talking about servicing debts, the cost of servicing debts going up by 216 billion shillings because of the weak dollar. And you wonder, are you seeing any kind of response or responsiveness by government in addressing this issue? Because government appears to be moving as normal, as if nothing is happening. If at all we are saying that it has never been this bad in a very long time, how come this government does not appear like it is appraised with how bad the situation is?
I think the government needs to wake up and listen to Kenyans and change the path that they have taken to tax everyone, to hike the taxes. You cannot tax your way to prosperity. When you start introducing new taxes and taxing people and raising the fuel tax and everything, people are leaving their vehicles home. And if you want to know how the economy is doing, look at the stock market. The Kenyan stock market is tanking. People are just dumping stock and all that. And if you want to look at the people who know where the economy is going, are the people who are daily looking at it, not just the people in the lower quarters of the economy, but the people who are looking at it from the stock market and seeing what is happening in the economy and doing the math. So when you see the stock market doing bad, you know things are not going on well. Even the people who are in the matatu industry, they are complaining that people are no longer able to pay. So I can tell you of a journey from my village of Kionyo to Nkobo, which is the commercial center of our constituency. And it's a 7-kilometer walk. It's a 7-kilometer distance. And people are nowadays walking for 7 kilometers to Nkobo because they can no longer pay the fare, because it has been hiked from 100 to 200 because of the fuel problem and everything. So people are no longer paying, they are walking down. So whenever I'm traveling along this road, I'm seeing so many people walking down, people I know. Then you know these people are heading to Nkobo, because when you're going up, you find them, and when you're going down, you see they are still walking down to town. So, and the last time people are walking to Nkobo was in the 1990s. So we are back to the 90s actually. So this country is not doing well. And the president and the people he has tasked with the economy, they need to rethink the issue of taxation. You cannot tax people to death. You cannot tax your way to prosperity. You are taxing so that you can tell us You are building roads. Roads for who? People are parking cars. People don't want to use cars anymore. People cannot even afford matatus. So why are you building roads?
It's definitely at crisis level.
Yes. So
the government has not even reduced its own spending.
So one of the ways now to bring this problem down is to realize the truth and tell the people, look, we want to raise this money so that we can do 1, 2, 3 things, but we can tighten our belts. If we have budgeted to build roads worth 500 billion, we can cut them to 100 billion. Tell people, if you don't see us building roads, it's because we are cutting budget so that we can bring down the cost of living. So you can just cut on these campaign promises, stop promising things. Nobody's going anywhere. We can do roads after 2 years when things stabilize. Most of these capital expenditures that have been in the budget, you can cut them.
Yes.
So once you cut them, then you realize that you'll be able to dispense some of the debt that we have.
Question is it time we consider official austerity measures? Because if we say it has never been this bad, definitely the government should be at the forefront and say, okay, fine, we have taken this decision, we're going for austerity measures, we're cutting down our expenditure. Even the president himself right now, he has embarked on a 5-day tour of Coast, and enough CSs are with him there.
Fred, just before I address that, let me tell you one indicator that many people might not have considered before as an indicator of a bad situation. We are in Nairobi. We have lived in Nairobi enough, and you have friends. When you have, in a day, 2 or 3 friends, these are people you know very well. These are people you either have done business with here or there. You trust them as well. When you have at least 2 in a day calling you to say, I need something for my family, like there is nothing at home. I need like 1,000 to go and buy the food items for this evening, and it is late in the evening, or it is close to lunch, and somebody, a friend, is doing that. I consider that a serious indicator, because when economy is doing well and people are prospering, Kiogora would call me as a friend and tell me, do you have 100K? I have some work. I have some work, I have some urgent thing, I need to do this, I will refund. This is about business, meaning he has taken care of the daily needs. He has taken care of rent, he has taken care of food, he has taken care of normal, usual things that family needs. But when he is not calling you for that, and the calls you keep getting are calls about food, calls about my children are going to go hungry, then you know it is bad. Because under normal circumstances, I should call Fred as a friend and say, you know, Fred, I need 100K, or I need 50K, there is this thing I'm doing here and there, you know. It tells you that I have taken care of my rent, I have taken care of my food, I've taken care of my normal daily stuff that I need to have and live as a man. But when that is not the situation, so the situation is I need from you a K because there is no food at home and it is going dark. He calls you, he needs a K, there is no food at home and it's going dark. It means we moved from anything, investment, business, that is not our world anymore. Our world is surviving to stay alive for tomorrow. That is an indicator to me that things have gotten bad. And watch out tomorrow and going forward, you will see most friends who knows you and you know, giving you such calls. Nobody is no longer calling me for 100K or 50K for business.
It's a K.
Yeah, it is 1K, it is 500.
Okay.
So on what you are asking, what were you asking again?
Austerity measures.
The austerity measures. I have a problem with how we interpret as a country the austerity measures, especially government. I don't know, I don't want to belittle, but whoever is advising government on matters economy should tell government the difference between taking austerity measures and still killing the same thing you want to keep alive. Once we talk about austerity measures in governments, especially the government of Kenya and many African governments, they start saying, We no longer want to see flowers on the tables in offices. We no longer have tea. They think that is austerity measure. That is still killing the economy, because what about the people who are supplying those milk, and that is how they were making a living? What about the people who are supplying those flowers, the farmers who are daily working on those flowers to finally come in? So that is what President Kibaki stopped. Austerity measure is not that. Austerity measure is when you have a foreign trip, 38 of them in 1 year, and in those foreign trips, we have every Tom, Dick, and Harry who we clearly cannot, or Fred and I are all part of your government. And when Kiogora is traveling, we can say, you and I agree to take, even if you had a role to play, I can step in for you to accompany him and do the part you are supposed to do and both the part I was supposed to do. And so we have saved $1 million, $2 million, or $10 million you would have spent, because if you are CS coming, you also need to come with aids. You are going to come with your PA, what, security, or anything. And the hotel you are going to spend in, and every other thing. So if that all is taken, I am now using mine, but still taking care of what you are supposed to do. That, to me, is austerity measure. But here, we are encouraging more foreign trips, and we are encouraging everybody to go, while at home, we are cutting on things that should actually put money on the common man's pocket. So the flour seller is no longer having money in his pocket to go and have purchase power at the nearby shop, and we want him to be the one funding this foreign trip.
Okay.
Then the money we are going to spend in the foreign land, in no way are we going to get that money back in terms of taxes, whichever way. Whether we spend millions there, that is going to be taxable in that government, in that land where we are.
Okay.
So for me, I would ask government, don't do this thing of austerity measures for the common man while you are spending.
Government spending still looks exorbitant.
Yes.
And if you watch the president moving around, even within this country, he's always followed by a big entourage, a number of CSs. And that is still government spending. Does it appear to you like the government is cognizant of the fact that things are bad and we need to tighten our belts? The government is asking people to tighten their belts. Is the government itself tightening any belt?
I don't think the government is tightening.
The government doesn't have a belt.
Actually, that's true. The government has no belt to tighten. And even when they say they are tightening, they are just pretentious. And they are doing things that cannot help in any way. Because, for example, the president has been accused of traveling a lot. That's one of the things that we have seen. And then he says that government officers have been banned from traveling. But you know, what happens is when you ban traveling, you should say, now where will this money go that was meant for traveling? Because you normally leave the money there, people cannot travel, so they will move money somewhere else where they will consume it in government. Of course, there are people not going out, but the money is there, still in the budget. You have not mandated the government to go in on these parastatals to rebudget all the foreign travel money to something else. You have said no travel.
But the money is still there.
The money is still there, so it will be spent elsewhere. So you have not said that we are taking the money that was meant for foreign travel, we take it somewhere else where it's going to have meaningful, meaningful work for the economy. So I think some of these tightening the belt narratives that we earn from the government are not even realistic. Even the issue of cutting travel. When you cut travel, you must say where you're taking the money to help the economy. You don't cut travel and leave the money there. These people will eat it elsewhere if they are planning to eat the money as allowances for going outside.
The money will still get eaten.
Yeah, somehow. So you must cut and then do something with that money. So the austerity measures that the government needs to take are the serious budgetary issues that we have. Because we cannot hide the fact that we have a huge debt as a country. And we are still piling that debt. We are still borrowing and borrowing more. So one of the ways to curtail the debt problem is to, cut down spending, especially on a lot of capital projects that the country has, and a lot of military issues, expenditures that we have. So we need to rethink and rewire our economy and then cut down on expenditures, at least for 2 years, so that we can avoid the appetite for a lot of taxes to meet the demand for the loan repayments and, of course, these capital projects that we have. So that is one way that the government can, cut down on taxes. If you look at the Kenyan economy vis-a-vis the Ugandan economy and the Tanzanian economy, the economies are doing well, apparently. And so,
Relatively well.
Relatively well compared to our economy. If you look at the Tanzania shillings versus the Kenya shilling is weakening, not just against the dollar, it's weakening against the Tanzanian shilling, against the Ugandan shilling. Actually, there was a time, I think last year, 2022, early 2022, the Tanzania shilling was at 35. Now, the Uganda shilling was at 35. Now it's at 25. For the Kenya shilling is valued at 25 for one Ugandan, for 25 Uganda shilling for one Kenya shilling. It is down from 10 shillings from 35 to 25. That's what tells you. So if at all it's the world economy that is bad, that would mean that the dollar is gaining strength against the shilling, and against the Tanzanian shilling, and against the Ugandan shilling, and against the South African rand for that matter, which is not the case. It's our shilling that is weakening against everybody else. So we cannot pretend that this is as a global problem, this is an East African problem. People need to look at the trends in other countries. The Ugandan economic situation and the Tanzanian economic situation are not as bad as we are as a country. So we need to rethink and rewire the Kenyan economy and become truthful with whatever we do. So when it comes to taxes, instead of overtaxing the obedient taxpayers, look for people who are not paying taxes without harassing the people who are paying taxes. Because people are closing down businesses because of the KRA harassment that are coming. Don't harass people at the airport. Just go slowly, look for people who are not taxes, let them pay. Don't overburden the obedient ones and add more taxes to them. People will start closing down businesses and you'll have no one to tax. People are stopping using M-Pesa services because the government is promising to come to look at your records and see what you have been doing and everything. So you can look at whatever people are doing without having them feel threatened and feel like you're going to jail them. People are feeling as if it's criminal now to do business, that you'll be jailed for doing business. The KRA will just come in and take you and jail you because of things to do with tax. So people are feeling threatened, and so I think the government needs to rethink this taxation issue. For me, I've always said taxes are supposed to attract a broader base, people paying small taxes, but you have a broader base of taxes and so many other areas to tax and encourage business across board, so that you have more people to tax when people are coming in and investing more and people starting businesses, instead of burdening a few people like the Kenyan government is doing. So this economy will not do well wherever we are talking about how we are going to tax more, how we are harassing, how we are increasing park charges, how we are transferring the park. You are taxing people and then you increase school fees.
Okay.
Where are you taking this money?
And I can see there's a headline talking to that. KRA now eyes e-citizen data to catch tax cheats. Tax money seeking to use third-party data from the e-citizen platform to catch individuals and firms evading tax as part of its strategies to hit its tough revenue targets.
Before we go there, there's a point that he had spoken about. We are having a problem. We are now Kenyans. It's about what I eat. Some of these students who have taken loan from HELP to study, students are dropping out of school because they can't get money to eat. They can no longer afford the cafeterias. They can no longer afford money for those who are living in private hostels to cook. Students are leaving colleges down there because so many call us. Send me 500, send me 200. I've not eaten for a day or two. Students in universities and colleges are even suffering. Some are even going back home so that they can get a meal from their parents. Not because there's lack of school fees. School fees, maybe they have gotten loans and all these other government funding. That one has been sorted. But the students cannot even eat now because the parents have no money to send them. So what do? They are going home, back home. So I have so many cases of students calling and texting each and every time that I have not eaten for a day or two. Please send me something. I'm near getting out of school. So that's how bad it is.
It is definitely a sad state of affairs. The cost of living is high, and looking at the headlines, you will be forgiven for it dampening your moods even further. Let's switch gears and discuss something else, and it's what is headlining on the front page of the Daily Nation. This ranking for senators and women representatives. I think they've also done ranking for MCAs as well. And newly elected senators are performing better than their more experienced counterparts 1 year after coming into office, according to a new InfoTrack poll that has also found that a majority of women representatives have their work cut out to win over voters. Busia's Okia Omtata has been ranked the best performing senator with a 59% approval rating, with Kirinyagas Kamau Murango coming second, alongside Kericho's Aaron Cheruiyot with 56% rating. Do you think this rating speaks to how counties are performing as well? A lot has been said about polling in Kenya, and it's companies like InfoTrack that do this. We saw that polling of how counties are performing earlier in the week. Now this is a further breakdown on how individual leaders are performing. Do you see this kind of rating as being accurate? Meshak.
Thank you, Fred. This thing, I've looked at this thing, I saw the one for governors, but something, you know, it's a mixed feeling for me, because I do not want to come out as a man who disputes research, because research is a very key and integral part of growth. Any company, any nation, I mean, Africa, we are even slugging behind because of the kind of amount of money and value we put on research. We probably depend on other people's research to grow us. But then the other part of me also knows the truth, because some of these pollsters will call you. I mean, you don't even know what happened and how it happened, but they will call you that, Mheshimiwa, you know, we are releasing a poll. What's your take? Mm-hmm. And then it depends on your take that would make you a good performer, or your take would just make you a bad performer. And so I am having a mixed feeling here and there. Some of it looked like popularity, but the truth is, if this is done for the better of the country, then we should look for the space of common mwananchi. How do they understand this? Because some people cannot even separate popularity and probably what you are calling better performance. I mean, in your constituency or in your county, how many young people, for example, understands that when a senator performs well above average, because I'm seeing here Okia at 59%, that is 9 above average. So do you think, Fred, young people around this country or around Busia understands well and knows when my senator performs above 50%, above average, he shall have done 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the functions of a senator? Because some of us would even be, would dare say, think that someone who makes a lot of noise is a performer. Mm-hmm. But a senator is only elected for that. So the researchers actually would be the best people to tell us that what are the indicators they were measuring, and were these really from the people who understands. Because if you go to a village of mine somewhere in Awendo and you get this young man, or you make a call, sometimes they do these polls using those phone calls. They collect your data somewhere, a call is coming through to this young guy in the village, and you're asking him, you're coming from Migori? Yes. How old are you? I am 26, or I am 21. Do you know your senator? Yes, he is Eddie Okech. And then you ask those questions you want to ask. should we take the perception of this young man as a clear indicator that Eddie Oketch now has performed? I'm not saying Eddie Oketch has not performed, but I'm using him as an example because he's my senator at home. Should we take that and publish it and say, this is a clear indicator that he has now performed better than another senator in Nairobi called Sifuna? I don't think that is a bit convincing to me.
Okay.
We need to actually be on the parameters of a performing governor should do what and what are the things that are given to him to do by the Constitution. Are they doing it? Because somehow this young man, Fred, just as an example, would tell you about how they feel about the person. If maybe they are supporters of this person or they are against this person. So they say, ule afanyi kazi, nothing, atumtambui. And then you publicize that and say, Senator so-and-so has really performed very well.
This ranking of senators is just one strand of this rating or survey by Infotrack.
Yeah.
Earlier in the week, they did a rating for governors. And despite what is happening in Meru, Governor Kawira Mwangaza came out strong. And yes, Homa Bay and Trans Nzoia, they were among the top counties. But Meru's Kawira Mwangaza was ranked among the top 10 best performing governors. Yet she's facing impeachment in Meru. Hence the question, should we believe this pollsters?
For me, I would say some of these posters are not truthful. There is a thin line between research and propaganda. Some of these posters have been used to just sell propaganda and propagate for the people who appear on top. Because sometimes you are never told the parameters. For example, for a senator to be ranked, you need to know how many bills have they introduced, how many motions have they introduced in the Senate, because these are not people with money or with funds that they can go to implement development projects, so that you look at it from that angle. You must look at their contributions from the Senate, from the answered, from everything. It's not just a matter of phone calls to ask people how you feel about your senator. You also need to know what these people are doing in the Senate, how much they have contributed, how much bills someone has introduced, because I know some of the people who have introduced a lot of things here, maybe say for Okiya Omtata, who is a non-public litigant, but looking at these other senators, you need to know what is it unique that you have introduced maybe to your county or you have brought to the Senate, so that you're ranked this way. So these things are not told, you're just given percentages that this person is performing good this way, but you're not told this person has introduced. Let's look at the women reps. For them, it's a little bit more because they have the affirmative action fund. We should be told which woman rep he has introduced a program that is helping women and girls because of the GAF money that they get. We should be told what they did. Because people who have done something with their money have not even been mentioned. Yes, I'm aware of women rep with the GAF. So if you look at their performance in parliament, that is contribution to bills and introducing motions and all that, then you look at maybe the projects they have introduced in using the affirmative action fund, then you should be able to rate a person using all these parameters. But our polling is not that objective, I can say. Even in elections, polls are so biased that they can even spin you off, think somebody is winning and they are not really winning. So because maybe that is what the publisher wants of that poll or whatever, either because they called them and they gave them something and then they are ranked that way. So especially now they're ranking for a Meru governor. You know, the governor is not being impeached because of performance.
So she is performing. You're not doubting the rating in terms of performance.
I've not come to that. I'm saying the impeachment is not about performance. The impeachment is about the mistakes she has done while in office, or the issues that she has, or problems that have come out of her leadership while she's in office. Maybe one or the other she has touched a few people here and there, but that is not protection for impunity. In as much as we are complaining about the root of government and taxes, the other things that they are doing well. But of course, the things that are bad, we must complain about.
Fred, if you want to know, let me just give you a quick one. The reason why this thing might veer us off the road completely, look at the members of parliament, for example. I am a member of parliament for this constituency, and I am given 100 million in the CDF. Constitution gives me a duty to oversight, legislate, and represent. I am entirely going to be ranked by the pollsters on the account of 100 million. While the country has a budget of more than 3 trillion, and I am supposed to be oversighting the national government, which has remained with 3 trillion. So because I have spent well 100 million, I am now ranking number 1 in the nation, and I have not oversighted 3 trillion, and probably it has all gotten lost. And you are ranking me and saying, this is how we get it wrong. If I am supposed to oversight national government, how much of oversight have I done, both to the 100 million I was given and the 3 trillion we left with the national government to the ministries? So you realize I have no contribution in the committee. I have no contribution anywhere in those things, but as long as the CDF 100 million, this is how we encourage laziness. And so some people, even MPs themselves, comes out and tell people on TV that I don't care, hizo ni kizungu mingi in parliament, go to my constituency, I'm working.
Yeah,
so what the hell is that? What is that? You are supposed to be in the National Assembly, not in your constituency. You are a National Assembly member, meaning apart from your constituency, you are even supposed to be concerned about the constituency in Lamu and what government is doing.
And it is the same thing that even for MCAs, your role is oversight, representation, and legislation. But even MCAs are keen on being part of development projects at the ward level.
You know, the Kenyans have been misled to demand for development from their own quarters.
Yes.
For example, if I am not seen to be working and doing small roads in the ward and giving bursaries and all these things, I will not be re-elected. But that's not my job.
Yeah.
My job is domiciled in the county assembly.
That is what will be used to rank you.
Yes.
What I'm doing in the ward.
The pollsters will be used.
It's the governor who is supposed to sort my ward.
Yes, yes.
For me, it's to allocate the resources to bring these projects that my people are asking for through the budget. Then I go to see whether the governor is implementing them. And it's not my job to climb tractors trying to show people how I'm opening roads.
Yet there's agitation for the ward development fund.
Yet if you don't, I'm not saying that we don't do it. Because that's the mentality of the voters. Yeah. If you don't do it, you're not going to be elected. But the voters need to know that that is not the job of the MCAs. It's not the job of the MP to be seen on top of tractors opening roads and building classes. CDF actually can be given to the committee, and the committee can implement the project based on the budget. You can participate in one in making the budget, then give them to go and implement. Anyone can implement with a budget of 100 million. You know, to 25 million will go to bursaries. Give forms, people apply, then you divide the money equally and give to students according to need or whichever criteria that you choose. But it's not your job as an MP to be spending your time doing these projects and then you want to be ranked with them. It's your job to speak in parliament. It's your job to be making noise in parliament and talking and contributing to the national debate and overseeing how the money that the national government is left with is being spent. So it's the high time we do serious voter education and a lot of civic education to Kenyans, that it's not the job of MCAs to implement development projects. It is not the job of MPs. Actually, the Constitution has separated the work of the executive, both at the county level and at the national level.
And I have a question
but the voters
for you,
want to fuse it
and
say that if I want a certain road tarmacked, it's the MP.
On the same issue, because you are behind the very first impeachment motion against Kawira Mwangaza. And that was sometime last year. And part of the discussion was the disagreement between the governor and the MCAs in as far as funding is concerned. The issue of how much money should go to the ward level and the demand that is now widespread across all counties for the ward development fund allocation. Don't you think that that is the same problem we're talking about here?
Yeah, no,
that even the leadership.
We are not asking for this money so that it's given to to us and given to our bank accounts. We are saying, as MCAs, the governor received, for example, in Meru County, 12 billion from the national government. because if you leave the governor to decide where the money goes, or just to bring the budget so that we approve, some areas will be disadvantaged. We want to know that out of the 3 billion that is left for development, because the majority of the other money will go to recurrent expenditure, we say that 1 billion will be used equitably across the wards. Because now this other money that is bulky, you say that 500 million or 300 million will go to the industrial parks that the counties are building. This one will happen in one area, in one ward. Then the governor is doing, say, 7 dams. These dams are happening in a few areas. You don't want to leave all the money to be done in the flagship project that go to a few areas without touching all the corners of the wards. So this is, this is what the MCAs were asking for. Then number 2, the reason we were asking for this fund is to not go and beg for your people to get something from the governor. So we wanted to make sure that the money goes, such that if you are guaranteed 20 million shilling will come to my ward of Abogeta West, for example, then we'll sit down with the people there, do public participation, the people say what we want, you prioritize the areas this money will go for, say, bursaries and all that, and then you give the governor to go and implement.
Oh, so the execution of the development projects is by the county government, not the MCA?
No, the MCAs are not, you can't do procurement, you can't do anything, it's the governor who does that, but you are guaranteed your people get something. Then the people do participation and say, apart from the money that the governor is left with, where we are going to lobby and see what more she earns to ours, because more money will come, of course, from the budget that the governor is left with into the wards. There is a guarantee that there is a certain minimum that the governor will come and implement. So you write the project, you give them to the governor, she does the procurement and everything, and these things, you know, are happening down there. So that's part of representation, whereby you are supposed to represent your people's needs and make sure that some of the things they want done are done. But it's the governor who does them.
Yes.
What happens in most counties,
yes,
if you are an MCA and you attempt to do oversight, serious oversight on the governor, you ensure no coin goes to your ward so that the people now can start complaining. And who is the first target? It's the MCA. You are fighting the governor. That's why he's not, and the governor will come and say, like what Kawira was doing to MCAs in the ward, I have been trying to help you, but your MCA does not give me peace. So I'm not coming anymore to this area because your MCA is not interested in development, is interested in politics and fighting me. Oversight for governors and even for the president, you would interpret it to fighting them. So that is why now you feel that unless something is guaranteed, you can't do oversight.
Meshak, as far as governance is concerned, this kind of arrangement that they're having at the county level could defeat efforts to oversight by the county assembly, because it would appear that, yes, as you say, now the governor comes and says, I will do this because to ensure that I get an easy time from the House. It has resulted in relative calm in quite a number of counties that have gone that way, but where the governor has stood her ground or his ground in as far as he's concerned, there's a lot of upheaval, like in the case in Meru. Don't you think that that needs to be relooked at, that this agitation for Ward Development Fund or even the CDF at the national level could be a bigger problem?
It is, but I want to agree with Kiogora on one thing. The people of Kenya have not understood how these things work. I don't think there's a lacuna in the law anywhere that makes everything conflict. Number one, when the county government started, this is a third generation, we definitely have what is called CIDP, County Integrated Development Plan. One thing that common mwananchi needs to understand in Kenya, nothing, however much your governor is friends with your MCA, will be implemented in your ward and it does not appear in the CIDP. That is the basic thing, the first thing. So the county government needs to bring public participation to the level which the Constitution envisaged it to be, so that we don't miss out on what is your priority as a common mwananchi. So when we are beginning a new term of governors or county government, we should ensure that every member of the public is part of the participation for the public participation when we are coming up with the CIDP, so that the roads I want to be done in the next 5 years are here. The boreholes I want to be dug in my ward are here. Everything we everything we call development, whatever it is that are under devolution and we want to see should be here first. Then after that, we should now send our MCA to ensure that what we had suggested and put in the CIDP are done. So you will follow up. That is where representation comes in. My people said they wanted a borehole here. And you are going to parliament, the county government parliament, to give it a budget. And once you have given it a budget, you follow up with the executive to implement it. Once they are implementing, you follow up to make sure that there is value for money, oversight. So with this, if a common man understands this, we will not have a problem, because the common man will know to what extent is the MCA. So when the MCA is fighting, the common man will know he is fighting for the borehole I proposed in the CIDP. And we should not, this will help the common man also not to go to MCA to want a school to be built, to want a hospital to be built. The common man should now know a hospital I have not proposed in the CIDP will never happen in the next 5 years. However, friends, our county governor and the MCA are, or however big fight they have, nothing will happen outside, because it happens, pap, and you are at the dock. Mm-hmm. You are spending money on the things that are not in the CIDP. You are actually going home. So it does not matter how much governor will come and laugh with you and tell you, you are my people, I will do this for you. They will not do that for you if you never proposed it. So the common man needs to understand first the things I want in the next 5 years. Put aside your county governor, put aside your MCA. The things I want for my ward these 5 years has to be in the CIDP, and I am the one going to that public participation forum to propose it. Okay. After that, I have a bone to chew with the MCA. Okay. Can you now follow up, because I had put it in the CIDP? Yes.
Kawira Mwangaza is facing 7 allegations of abuse of office, misuse of funds and all this. But how much of this, her impeachment, has to do with the original problem, that disagreement that led to the initial attempt to impeach her, that disagreement on issues to do with the Ward Development Fund?
You know, the Supreme Court in the Sonko case ruled that the impeachment of a county governor is both a legal and a political issue. And something has always begun with politics. For the governor and the MCAs, we have been working very well after the first impeachment. She came and rescinded and allocated 10 million to the wards that now you propose, which has risen to 15 million this year. So we have been working well. Until well up to May this year, she opened a fight with the deputy governor. So vicious that she locked him out of office and moved his office, fired his staff by writing fake resignation letter of all his staff, denying him access to any facilitation funds and grounding his office. Then started a hate campaign against them and organizing event rallies next to his house in Maua. And then people got so angry that now his meetings started becoming violent. And whenever he took even these cows for the people, there are cows the governor goes giving to people, they started slaughtering them and eating them and chasing away and burning her mattresses. She does a family charitable thing called Okolea. Mm-hmm. So it turned out chaotic. Then remember, she was elected as an independent. She opened a war fight, a war front with Kiraitu. Kiraitu has 20 MCAs through his party, BAS. Then Rinturia has the majority of the MCAs via UDA. So you opened a war front with the two. So, no, it is lack of political wisdom on our part. First of all, to fight with the deputy, then to open a war with these two.
So it's purely political.
So there is the political part of it, that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And then there is the legal part of it, which has to do with the wrongs that she has done. So you first of all decide to impeach, then you go to look for reasons. You know, you're not going to impeach because of these rallies she's organizing that are becoming violent.
So it is more about the politics. And the allegations were the reasons.
So you decide to impeach, then you go and know why now. Uh-huh. Yeah, if you decide my dog has to die, you must look for the reasons.
Give it a bad name.
Why the dog has to die. But so for the governor, who has so many wrongs that are impeachable, you know, even if you have done so many wrongs as a governor, and the EACC is even arresting you, the DCI is arresting you, but if the MCAs refuse to do anything, there's no one who can take you anywhere. Mm-hmm. So her first task as an independent governor was to make sure she has the support of at least 30 of 69 MCAs, something she failed to do. She is someone you can't advise. She is someone who can't listen. When she opened the war with the governor, we told the governor, please stop. With the deputy, this one is going to bring big problems for you because Meru has 3 sub-tribes. The deputy comes from the second largest sub-tribe. So people will see that you are targeting their person. So it's going to bring serious divisions. Actually, they started even asking for their own county after she started the war. A division, remember there was a debate about adding counties. The people from the deputies area started demonstrations of asking for their own county because of this fight she had opened with the deputy. She is someone you can't tell. So if you tell a governor, please, you know your case is sensitive. You are independent, you don't have any single MCAs in this assembly. So you don't want to be opening so many fights. Yes. You want peace. Okay. She's someone you can't tell.
Wow.
Can't advise her.
Meshak.
Fred, there are 2 things I have noticed in this country. Number 1, for devolution to work for us the way it was envisioned and the way the Kenyans expect it, 2 things needs to happen. The first thing, we need to create in the law maybe something in the law that prevents a sitting senator from becoming governor immediately in the next election. So that even if I am the senator today, I know in the next election I cannot run for governor until the other election. Because number 1, senators avoid their work at some point. The biggest work for senator is to protect county government. Protect, the word is protect. Oversight comes, but after protecting, because you only oversight what is there. You have protected it. But many counties are going to the dogs because senators are not protecting counties. They are actually running to the oversight to gain mileage because they want to run to become governors in the next or subsequent election. So if a law is introduced that stops me from running to be a governor in the next election, I will put all my effort to protect the county so that it remains a big thing such that when the time comes for me to run, I will find a county. That is what. Because most of these governors have a problem with the senators who wants to become governor in the next election immediately. So the governor sitting is supposed to work have a good relationship with the senator in terms of oversighting the county and protecting the county. But what we have is the senator wants to run and is very happy to see the county going the way it is going, because that will give him easy time or her easy time to jump into that seat and become the next. Because it's becoming a trend that senators are becoming governors. So nowadays, when you see a member of parliament rising to be senator, they want to go to become governor immediately after that. Then you have counties where there is just a problem, like now the Kawira Mwangaza. I basically think the problem is political, yes, but there is also cultural bit in this whole thing. I think the 2 gentlemen who he says the governor has also opened war with might not have been also very clean, because how this woman came in between a Harvard material and a very seasoned politician on this other side as the winner is also a problem. Candidate. As an independent candidate, when Meru is purely UDA and a big chunk also on the other side. I think this is also not very much well taken by the 2 gentlemen. So they might not have come out officially and open to say we are at war with you, but somehow they want that war. So there's a bit where I am not coming to give you the war, but I want the war.
I want to disagree with him because, first of all, after the election,
yes.
Kiraito, of course, never went to Kawira's swearing in,
yes.
but Linturi came and promised our support.
Yes.
Actually, our first impeachment, the person who tanked it is Mithika Linturi. He is the one who dissuaded the president against it.
Yes.
And we saw him arguing with the governor and launching projects as we were defending our case at the Senate. So
Yes.
we knew that we are not likely to get anywhere. So there has been a lot of goodwill from Rinturi to help Kawira. And Rinturi organized 2 meetings for MCAs, one at Sunstar Hotel in Nairobi, the other one at his house, telling us, please support this lady. She defeated us. We have accepted the elections. Please support her. Then Kiraitu came in before he was appointed as the chairman of NOC. He promised to support her before the president and said, and Kiraitu, me, I was a little bit adamant about supporting the government because I realized of so many problems. It's Kiraitu himself who told me, no, please support her. We cannot afford to have 5 years of fighting in Meru. Support the governor.
I wanted to
now,
tell
I think
you...
she became very comfortable. So you realize that the issue of she's a woman, you know, it's a way of defending yourself. When people elected her, they knew.
Fred, I wanted to tell you
She was
2 things that should happen, and I said 1, senators should be bad. Number 2, when impeachment happens, we should have it in the law for the deputy to go with the governor. How comes when we are going for elections, we are not even careful who the deputy is? As long as we put a vote in for Fred, that vote comes with the deputy automatically. We don't care who the deputy is. But when impeachment is happening, now the deputy is far away from it as if nothing. So for me, deputy should go with the governor.
Do you think that would help us resolve, because this issue of differences between the governors and their deputies
that
is
should make them work.
not unique to Meru. It is there in Kericho, in Siaya.
Yeah, so I think what he is proposing is good, and maybe it's something you can recommend, but we are not going to use the law as it ought to be. We are going to use the law as it is. So as it is the deputy who becomes, unless, of course, we amend that constitution. But because the constitution has not been amended.
Do you think that kind of, if we were to go that way, it would reduce the infighting between governors and their deputies in counties?
I think that would somehow work, because sometimes you can argue maybe in some cases the deputies want the governors to go, maybe because they can take office. You can't fault to say that. But in the case of Meru County, when we were doing the first impeachment, the deputy was threatening that if you impeach her, I will resign. He was willing to go with her. That's how much he wanted her to stay in office.
Wow.
So that's how much. In fact, as late as August, the deputy went on Weru TV and told the governor, "Ma'am, I'm ready to come and kneel before you and say sorry. If there is something I've done wrong to you, I please want to work with you. I don't want these fights." She felt like God. She refused to hear him. She refused any audience. So sometimes she had it for herself.
Okay.
So
I don't know if we'll have any more time after the break, because there's another discussion, big discussion coming to do with the husband material and what exactly people are looking for in husbands. So as part of your final comments, because I need to know the difference between the first impeachment and the second one. At the Senate, she will not be appearing before the committee, before a select committee. She'll have to defend herself before plenary. And do you see it working this time around as opposed to how it went with the first impeachment?
If you look at committees have fewer people, so it's easier to compromise them and all that. And it's easier to give them directions, because their reports, if they are negative, they are not supposed to be debated in the Senate. So when it's the plenary now, there is time for all the senators to hear the case and for all of them to vote. So for me, I would support the plenary way as a way that is as a huger ground with more senators and more people hearing the case. So it's easy, it's harder to compromise many people, as opposed to when you're dealing with just 11 committee members who have the final say on what happens. And there is no single committee that has ever impeached a governor. But all the governors who have been impeached, Tito Sonko, they went through the plenary, where more people are listening, where there are more people, where you can't bribe 67 people. So I would support the way they went for the plenary, and it's my feeling that the governor will go, because one of the impeachment charges we have labeled on her is that she's in contempt of court. you know, she has been given so many court orders and the husband goes out in certain courts and she refused to obey them. She has been cited by courts for contempt. So she cannot appear in any court to look for justice because she has not punched the contempt part. Okay. And we are impeaching her for this because this is not the way governors are supposed to behave. They are supposed to be implementing court orders and listening to what the independent judicial branch is ordering. So if she has a contempt of court that she has not punched, she will not go to any court to get any orders. And
because of time, I need Bwana Odede to give his very final remarks on this issue of the plenary vis-a-vis a select committee on impeaching the governor.
At personal level, I think the plenary, I always supported the plenary, even though in the standing orders of Senate, they are allowed to do sometimes committee if they so wish. But as a common mwananchi, as a Kenyan, I think impeachment of a governor is a huge thing that cannot be rested in the shoulder of 11 members of the Senate. It should be the entire Senate so that when a decision is taken, it is taken at the national level. We can say all the 47 senators were all together in the impeachment. So we have taken a decision as a country. Okay. But if you give it to 11, I feel like it is some part of the country that has taken a decision to impeach you, and probably the majority may have not. Okay. So if it is plenary, I support.
Thank you so much, Meshak Odede, political commentator, and Dennis Kiogora, MCA Abogeta West in Meru County, for helping us look at the state of the nation today, and especially on this issue of cost of living and the impeachment of Governor Kawira Mwangaza. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV47. Continue interacting with us on our social media pages, TV47 News on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook.